What can you do with it? Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So this is going to be the first of a series of single apparatus mobility routines. Alright, so the first apparatus we're going to use is a Supernova, which is a mobility WOD tool you can get on roguefitness.com. But just in general, like any ball about the size of a women's softball, about somewhere like 6 inches in diameter, maybe a little bit less, and what you can do with a ball that size. So this ball is pretty firm, so the ball also is going to be relatively firm, so that means we're not going to be putting it on too sensitive areas. Alright, so if you have just this ball, the areas that are best to work on are going to be, we'll start with the chest. Alright, and everything we do is going to be for 2 minutes on each side. So best recommendation is getting an interval timer. You can get one for free on in the App Store if you have an iPhone, or any smartphone. You should be able to get a free interval timer. Set a timer for 2 minutes for your high interval and 10 seconds for your low interval, and your 10 seconds is just going to be your transition time going from one movement to the next. Set it for approximately 10 rounds. You're not always going to be doing 10 rounds with every routine, but it gives you about 20 minutes worth of mobility work. What I've found is if you set that timer, if you hit start, you'll tend to finish 20 minutes. Alright, so we're going to start at the pec here. Alright, so basically we're going to go right under the collarbone, which is this hard bone right here, right under the neck, attaches to the shoulder. And it's a big muscle here, just get the fleshy part of the front of the chest. Women, just make sure you get above your breasts, so you're going to be a little bit higher, possibly right underneath the collarbone. Alright, but it's just as important for women to do this as men. Alright, so you're going to lie on the ball. And what the pec muscles do is they'll kind of stretch the arm up into this horizontal abduction and then overhead. Alright, so they also will pull the shoulder forward. So the movements that you want to be looking at is out to the side, overhead, and then also internal rotation, which is this movement here, and then hand behind the back. And you'll feel as you start doing some of these motions how it creates more pressure where the ball is. Alright, so initially with all of these movements, when you're doing any soft tissue work, you gotta really take your time letting the ball sink in. So let your body be heavy on the ball. Alright, move around, and then you're going to go through an assortment of movements. So you can work your press overhead, you can work bringing the arm up into a fly, and then you can also work behind your back. So I prefer to go behind the back, open the shoulder up, and then all the way overhead. So you get a nice full range from behind the back to overhead. So you're going to explore the pressure on the chest with the ball for 2 minutes, and then you flip to the other side. Alright? So I'm not going to show you both sides, but you just get the point. You want to definitely do both sides and assess for any asymmetries. The next area we're going to look at is the psoas, or the lower quadrant basically of your abdomen. So you're not only working the psoas, but we're trying to get deep enough that we can get to the psoas, which is a major hip flexor and a pretty important muscle. So the landmarks we're looking at are the hip bone right here, the belly button, and then right under here is the rib arc. So you're just going to get off to the right, in this case, of the belly button. Alright, so I get right on there. Allow yourself to take some time to sink in. Okay, you can start with your cheek on your hands, and this other leg, I'm going to go to this side to show you, opens up sort of like a frog. Your gaze is away from the ball, so I have the ball on my right side right now. Okay, and I'm going to let it sink in by relaxing and breathing out. Once it sinks in a bit, I can try to lift the leg and it'll feel blocked, so I'm trying to extend my right leg. And I can also open up this right shoulder, so I'm just stretching the whole anterior chain of my body, and then I try to do a little hip extension with a little bit of knee flexion, which will get the hamstring and the glute firing, a little reciprocal inhibition on that psoas, which is a hip flexor. Alright, so about 2 minutes of exploration there with just deep pressure or deep pressure with movement. Next movement I'm going to look at is I'll sit up. Alright, so typically I don't love working on the hamstring on the ground. I'll put it on a box, but with the ball this big, you can make a little bit more leeway with it, and it's an easier movement to do. You don't have to go get a chair. So if you're on the ground already, this ball works pretty well working on the hamstring. So it's not as effective to go up and down, in my opinion, as finding a spot, kind of leaning into it, and then going side to side and just seeking out some of the more intense trigger points in the back of the leg. All right, so we got 2 minutes going from the sit bone down to the knee. You want to explore all of that. All right, you can also put your leg on top, especially when you get down by the knee, to really explore some of these tendons. When you get lower on the hamstring, it really splits off to an inside and outside. You got actually 3 tendons that go back there. So you got 2 on the inside and 1 on the outside. So you're going to be kind of splitting off, and you want to make sure that you understand that when you're going down, to look more on the outside and the inside as opposed to straight in the middle. All right, but really just find the spots that hurt the most. All right, so you do both sides there, and then the last one we'll do with this ball is look at the calf muscle. All right, so this works pretty well for the calf. You don't have to actually lift your butt too much. Just sit up tall, stack one leg on top of the other, and side to side until you find the spot that really hurts the most, and then you're going to flex and point. You can do circles, you can do the alphabet. Just keep that pressure down on those spots that hurt. Explore for 2 minutes. All right, so using a ball about 6 inches in diameter with some firmness to it. You got chest, the lower quadrant of the abdomen, back of the thigh, and back of the leg. If you have any questions, go to moveprofessional.com. I'll see you next time.